Hello, sweet tooths. Desserts with cookies are always tempting, and besides, they're very easy to make. So today, I'm showing you 3 great ideas, starting with this one, which has chocolate and cookies inside, looks amazing, and is very easy to make. We start by breaking up 2 packs of cookies, about 400 grams. You can use whichever cookies you prefer, just with freshly washed hands. Break them into pieces, not too small. It's that simple and easy. Let's prepare a cream. I have half a liter of milk, but won't use it all in the pot. I set aside a portion of those 2.5 cups, about 1 cup. And in it, I dissolve 2 heaping tablespoons, really full of cornstarch or corn flour. Whatever you call it, just stir it a few times until it dissolves. Set it aside, we'll use it soon. The milk warmed up a bit since I had it on medium heat for a short time. And here, I add 2 tablespoons of pure cocoa powder inside. I'm also going to give it a sweet touch, in this case with a couple of tablespoons of sugar, although this is to taste. You can use any sweetener you want, and as much as you prefer, I like it with 2 teaspoons. And keep stirring it while it heats up. When you see that the cocoa is dissolved, add the milk with cornstarch from before. There it is. As you can see, I do it gradually and keep stirring non-stop, which is essential. Once you've added it, we're going to leave it on medium heat, stirring and stirring. It can be with a whisk or a spatula. After a few minutes, look, it's already gotten creamy. When you see that it has this texture already turning creamy, we add couverture chocolate or dark chocolate. Specifically half a bar or 100 grams, but make sure it's finely chopped so that thanks to the heat, it melts very, very quickly. You can also change up the dessert by adding something different to the cream at this point. Orange zest, an extra splash of vanilla, or for example, and even if it sounds crazy, a good pinch of salt actually goes really well with chocolate. It really adds a nice touch. After a few minutes, it will melt and the cream will have a fantastic texture. So we take it off the heat and pour it into the container where we had the cookie base. We pour the cream in and use a spatula, also known as a pastry scraper or rubber spatula, to help us. In other countries, the important thing is to make sure you use every last drop. And once you have it, stir it around so the cookie gets soaked. Super good. And you end up with a cream with cookie. So, very carefully, you keep stirring it like this until you get the most uniform texture possible. But be careful not to break the cookie too much. Then into a mold, in my case, 20 by 20 centimeters. And I have it lined with acetate paper or plastic wrap, although that's optional. We put this marvel here, and this is gonna be the base of our cake again. Here's an important little detail. The first thing is, as always, making sure to use every last drop. And the second thing is also important, which is that we're gonna press down, that is, with the same tongue, or with a spoon, we're gonna press the mixture down. This way we make sure there are no holes inside. Do it along the sides as well, so the surface is as flat as possible. There it is! And now I'll just put it in the refrigerator for a few minutes, because while this is firming up a bit, I'll prepare an amazing topping. With 1 1/4 cups of milk, which is about 150 milliliters over medium heat until it's really hot. Really hot. Then I add 250 grams or 1 1/4 bars of chopped chocolate, couverture or dessert as before. And I'm gonna give it a few stirs. Thanks to the heat, it will start to melt. When it starts to melt, add half a teaspoon or 3 grams of agar. If you don't have this product, you can use any thickener or, for example, heavy cream or milk cream. Also cornstarch, also gelatin. That's up to your taste. It's just to give it some texture. And once everything is dissolved, you add a tablespoon of butter, which will give it the final touch. And this beautiful shine. If it doesn't dissolve during the process, you can heat it in the saucepan for a little longer, and then it will dissolve even more easily. Okay, we take the mold that we had in the fridge and add this chocolatey and fantastic liquid. Since it's very liquid, it will level out quickly, becoming flat without any effort. There goes the chocolate in, and the truth is, we all love chocolate. This is going to be a huge success. As you can imagine, does it need to be refrigerated? To finish off the dessert, so we're going to put it in the fridge or refrigerator for 4 hours so it can set completely. Honestly, after 2 hours, we could use it. Preparing it a day ahead also works great, so you have all the options in the world. We remove the mold and the little piece of plastic, which I love to use. There it is. And I'm going to use something flat along the edge so the finish is smoother. Then we cut it into portions, decorate it, in my case with a little bit of cookie on each one, and enjoy to the fullest. Look, what an amazing look it has. Don't tell me it doesn't look appetizing. I'm sure more than one of you is asking for one of the pieces. And look. Inside, it's creamy. Really creamy, and the cookie is super soft. And just with the weight of the spoon, it starts breaking apart. One spoonful after another. Look at the cut. Look at the cut. Fantastic, incredible, and really simple. Although, if you want to enjoy it to the fullest and you don't want to add chocolate, you can make this other version with cookies and the cream stays inside. Elegant and delicious. The first thing we're gonna do is place a layer of cookies in a small container as if it were a bed. The idea is to cover the entire surface of the base. It's that easy. Once you have that ready, let's move on to the cream. We're gonna need 2 egg yolks, large ones, size L, and we add 70 grams, a third of a cup of sugar. We mix a little, and right away, the yolk will make a kind of crumbs with the sugar. We're looking for everything to mix together. Once you have it mixed, add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, about 20 grams. But if you want to add a little more, that's fine too. You just repeat the process. Stir it around until it's mixed. Then you add 2 cups of milk, about 400 milliliters, and stir it again. Just a few seconds so it starts dissolving a bit. Come on, just like that, mix it really well. And with this, we're going straight to the stove. We're going to set it to medium or medium-high at most, and keep stirring the whole time. When this mixture starts to heat up, that's when it gets thick. The cream. So, at first it seems like nothing is happening, but then it thickens up really fast. In fact, I like to, when it starts to heat up, switch from the whisk to a spatula. The reason for using a spatula or silicone, it's so you can scrape the bottom of the pot or saucepan and also the sides, which is where everything heats up first. Look, this is already starting to thicken. I'm gonna stir it a few more times, and in a couple of minutes, I'll have a totally creamy texture, like the one you see here. Time to add butter, specifically a heaping tablespoon, about 20 or 30 grams a bit. To your taste. We put it in, and thanks to the heat of the cream, it will start to melt. Like magic, as you can see, after a few stirs, it dissolves completely. Look how creamy it gets. And with this cream, we go to the mold where we add the cookie base, and we pour the cream on top. But keep the following in mind. Only half of the cream goes in there. We're gonna save the rest. We spread this half of the cream so it covers the whole surface. And on top, we put another layer of cookies. Just like before, make sure it covers everything and that the cookie is in contact with the cream. We don't soak them because the cream is already moist and will provide enough moisture to make them soft. All right, cookies are placed. A firm layer is set. And now let's use the cream we have left because we're gonna give it an extra touch. We have about half of the cream left. We add a tablespoon of cocoa powder and stir it so it mixes in. Since the cream is warm, it has the same effect as before with the butter, meaning it helps everything dissolve. So just a few stirs until the cocoa is completely mixed in. Then you add it here to the mold, where we already have everything going. Come on, pour the cream in. And just like before, we're gonna spread it out really well so it ends up as flat as possible. Come on, make the most of a spatula so you always use every last drop of cream. We have to make the most of everything since we've worked for it. Let's do it. As I said, we spread the cream and now we're going to set this aside in the fridge or refrigerator. We'll leave it there for at least 2 hours. If you want to prepare it from one day to the next, that's no problem at all. The important thing is that it's firm enough to decorate and enjoy. I like to make a special topping for it, optionally, also with nuts, which, as you can see, I chop up really well so they end up in small cubes. Now I take heavy cream, 1 cup or 200 milliliters, and heat it up well. Because I'm gonna pour it over a bar of finely chopped chocolate. So, 200 grams of chopped chocolate, 200 milliliters of heavy cream, nice and hot, and stir it until the chocolate blends into a shiny, smooth liquid. If you can't get it to mix, you can heat the whole mixture again. But I think if you have the cream or milk nice and hot, you won't need to. You stir it until it's fully combined and shiny. Then you add those nuts we chopped earlier, adding them in and stirring so they're evenly distributed. Chocolate cream with nuts is ready. The perfect topping for this cream dessert. All right, let's pour it on top. I'm already halfway drooling. I can't wait to enjoy this. So I'm gonna take this, pour it on top, and just like before, I'll make sure to spread it out a bit so it's flat and looks nice on top. But this time, without using my tongue. Since it's a bit liquid, just by moving the mold, you can get it to settle nicely. It's ready now. Look at that cut. So elegant. Isn't it easy to make desserts that look like they're from a pastry shop? Of course, but don't leave without seeing this last option. Look how amazing it looks. A creamy dessert that's super easy to make and turns out delicious. Let's start with the cream, for which we put 2 large eggs, size L, in a saucepan. And here, we're also going to add a good splash of vanilla essence, extract, or flavoring. Also, we're going to add sugar, 200 grams and a bit more, about 220 grams, which is like a cup, and 2 tablespoons. Mix very well, really well, until you get this kind of paste with a light yellow color. Add 50 grams, 1 gram, about 1/3 cup of cornstarch, also called cornstarch or corn flour, and start stirring. That's what was said. Let's keep stirring until it's completely mixed in. Don't worry, that happens pretty quickly. Once you have that cream, you add the magic of today's recipe, the yogurt. If it's Greek style, even better. And in any case, it should be plain and unsweetened, without any sweeteners. Once you add it, stir again, and you'll see how it blends in again very quickly. And now that we have this fantastic cream, looking this amazing, we're gonna go cook it. I'm gonna give it the final stirs here now. Instead of using a whisk, I'm using a spatula to make sure I get the bottom and the sides as well. And like I said, let's cook. Right here, I put it on the stove at about medium heat and keep stirring it until As this heats up, it thickens. So as soon as it starts getting warm, it gets a bit denser. See here? Well, just keep stirring until it's creamy. Creamy. Look at how I have it right now. That's enough. See how it takes a while to fall? That's exactly what we're looking for. If you end up with too many lumps, you can use the whisk quickly and they'll disappear. At this point, we add the butter, about 1/3 cup. Right at the end, remember, when the cream is ready, you just keep stirring it over and over. And with the heat, it's gonna melt and blend in perfectly in just a moment. See how easy and delicious we're making things today. Remember that you can always give your personal touch to this cream by adding, for example, some orange zest or a splash of liqueur. And if you want to add more personal touches with the cookie we're about to put in, you can also play around by using cinnamon ones, for example. Do it your way, and you'll enjoy it even more. This next step is optional, but I recommend it. I pour a cup of milk, which is about 200 milliliters, along with 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder, pure cocoa, without sugar or anything else. Remember, the cookies and cream will both be sweet, making the contrast ideal for us. I have the mold that I'm going to use. In my case, it's 20 by 20 centimeters. If you want to use a round one, a 22 or 23 centimeter one will give you the same height. If you have acetate paper, like this plastic one, that's even better because the finish will be more perfect. You know, you can buy it at a stationery store if it's just plastic paper, nothing more. And now, the assembly. We dip each of the cookies like this, with a bit of that mixture, which in my case, as you can see, is cocoa with milk, and we place them on the base. As I said before, use any cookies you like. I like these long ones, so it looks, appetizing and kind of unified. That way, I can cut them one by one later, and it looks like a marvelous cream sandwich. Once we have the whole base covered with the cookies, we're going to pour that cream we just prepared on top. Look how creamy it is. This can only be either tasty or super tasty. Use a spatula to help yourself, which I know some of you also call the scraper or the miser. And you'll also use it to smooth out the cream a bit. Make sure you have a layer that's more or less the same thickness, and it's very important that all that cream reaches the corners. So I'm going to do that now. Look, just by moving it, kind of giving it that typical shake, it starts to spread out on its own. And that way you can get it into all the corners, and it'll look nice, easy, and with little effort, which is always a good thing. Once we've done this, that little task of smoothing out the cream a bit, we're going to add another layer of those wonderful soaked cookies. I remember I've made it with cocoa and coffee, and if there aren't any kids at home, it also turns out perfect. And of course, you can make it with liquor or whatever you want, you have to enjoy it. But I'm telling you, with pure cocoa, they turn out fantastic. Finally, we finish with this layer down here. And that's it. Let it cool a bit more on a rack. Just a few minutes. And once it's a bit cooler, you can take everything to chill, because this dessert tastes way better cold. So, into the fridge or refrigerator, I recommend at least 4 hours. Although you already know that these desserts turn out spectacular if you make them a day in advance. Look, in fact, that's what happened to me. I prepared it last night, and here I have it ready. If it falls, it's only because I'm smart enough to take it out one-handed. So we've been successful taking it out. It hasn't fallen. And now, to unmold it, I'm going to remove the side of this mold and also the acetate sheet, which I'm telling you about. They sell acetate sheets in A4 size. Then you just cut the strips. And that's it. You can wash and use it often. It's a great investment. Ready to decorate? Sure, add a nice touch by dusting powdered sugar through a strainer. And look, how professional. Look. What a great appearance. What a shine. It's a real cake, pie, tart, or call it whatever you want. It looks fantastic, and it's super, super good. Look at that creaminess. Look at that creaminess. Look at that creaminess. Oh my goodness. I'm sure you're craving to take a bite. But before you get to work, at least tell me in the comments, which did you like most? Was it that creamy one from the beginning? The one with a cookie on top and another on the bottom? Or that wonder we made with cookie and chocolate at the start? I actually like all three. While you think about it, you can also use this little box and enjoy this video.